Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jank Tank Draft League. I am your coach of the Wodonga Why Nots, Orucs-Oraihc, and it is week 7/6. I'm saying 7/6. I'm calling it 6 in the video because it's going to be my 6th week video, and we're going in order. Technically, this is my week 7 opponent, but I never actually got together with my week 6 opponent, and this happened for a couple of people. They just completely forgot that they were supposed to face each other, and everyone lost track of the weeks. So it is. We're going to be facing my week 7 opponent, but I'm calling it week 6 because this is like we haven't done our week 6 battle yet. So I'm not going to explain that again in the next 3 videos about the league. But without further ado, let's kind of start talking about my opponent's team because it is going to be a doozy of a week this week. Uh, my opponent this week is the chair of the league himself, Jank Tank, and the team is a huge threat. Cottony Prankster, it probably holds the focus sash. It gets a lot of good moves. Cotton Spore, it doesn't get Tailwind, but Cotton Spore is its speed control. I think that Cotton Spore is just objectively worse than Tailwind. You might think, well, they do about the same thing, right? It's just giving you 4 turns of something versus lowering your opponent's stats by the same amount. And you'd be wrong, because Cotton Spore uh, is a priority move used against the opponent. It's blocked by things like Quick Guard, and it's also Prankster blocked by being a dark type like Sneasel. So Cotton Spore probably not going to be quite as useful this week. Endeavor is something I could see. Encore maybe if maybe Taunt in this spot if they expect Solosis instead of Spritzy, but either way, Spritzy should stop it. And then Protect just as a 4th move. It's probably going to be running something like max HP, max speed. I don't think it's going to be running any sort of attack investment with these stats. It could be holding the Eviolite, but I'm expecting it to just be Sash. However, that won't save it from the triple axles, so we'll see. In terms of Rufflet has to be running max speed Jolly to outspeed Sneasel guaranteed at +1. So it will certainly be running this speed stat because it has to. In terms of attack, it is also probably going to be running max. Life Orb Hustle is just stupid and broken. As long as I can play well, I can mitigate the damage from this. But if Jank Tank plays out of his mind, then I'm in for a world of trouble. And Togepi is a prime example of the world of trouble that I could be in. Because Follow Me, Yawn, Protect, Dazzling Gleam is a set that I've looked at, and it's not great. It's not great for me. If I can manage to get this thing off the field or stop it from doing what it wants to do, then I'll be fine. But if I can't, then we're in trouble. Scraggy, it's Intimidate Cycling. It probably wants Rosalie Berry because I have a Fairy type, but even then, that won't help it too much. Something like Drain Punch is going to be really good against my Sneasel, and Crunch is good against a couple of my Mons too. Its Dual Stab is not bad this week, but I think I have the tools for it. It's base 48 speed, which is a really awkward tier. Like it wants to run fast, but it also wants to run bulky as well. So I could also see it just being something like max HP and Brave or something, which would be weird, but it's possible. In any case, we can move on. Frillish. Frillish is kind of insane. Water Spout Recover, and it can also imprison my Trick Room, which is the only way that anybody in the league has of stopping my Trick Room. Other than a really fast Fake Out. And even then, it's not likely. So, this is something that I'm concerned about. The good news is that it's not likely to come if my opponent is expecting Bulbasaur, and I think my opponent will be prepping for Bulbasaur because Bulbasaur is a big threat into a lot of their team. Other than Rufflet, and even Rufflet takes chunks from it. Like Max Weatherwall in the Sun, not great for it. So uh, I'm not expecting my opponent to bring this for that reason. If they do, though, I still have answers in Sneasel as well. So Frillish just doesn't have a great matchup into my team, but if it's running bulky enough, it can survive a hit or two, maybe. Uh, so it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Water Spout Recovery is just an insane combination. So moving on, we have Pharaoh Seed. This is the bane of my existence. Pharaoh Seed is incredibly tough for my team to break. If it's running something like Curse instead of Iron Defense and Gyro Ball instead of Knockoff, then I am actually in deep trouble. Curse Gyro Ball actually has the potential to destroy my team. Uh, as long as if it spirals out of control, then Curse Gyro Ball is a threat. Hopefully, we can mitigate that and prevent it even, or it just won't be Curse Gyro Ball in the first place. Any other set than Curse Gyro Ball, I have consistent answers to. But Curse Gyro Ball is the one set that I can't deal with. Moving on to other things that I don't expect to come as much. Vulpix gets Drought, and my Bulbasaur loves the Sun, so I don't think this will come because Bulbasaur looks good into their team. It's possible, but Jank knows that I have run Bulbasaur a lot and that I like running Chlorophyll and Weather Ball even. So while this would be a really nice set, maybe it could run Scarf. But even then, I don't think it outruns Bulbasaur and Sun. So that's something it has to be worried about. So I don't think it's going to come at all in any case. Moving on, Shinx. This gets Flame Orb Guts. It can run something like this. It also can just be Intimidate cycling with Volt Switch in regards with Scraggy. A set that I prepped against was Eject Button Scraggy, which is a very fun set. It's a lot of intense Intimidate cycling. Thankfully, I have Inner Focus and I have some great special attackers. And because of that, I don't think Shinx is as likely. I also have my own electric type. I have a ground type. I have resists. And I don't have many weaknesses. I think my only weaknesses are Sobble and Fletchling. And Sfeel, of course, but I have far more resist to the electric type than I have weaknesses on my team. Dwebble, this is a Shell Smasher. This is something I haven't prepped specifically against, but I have kind of looked at, kind of assessed the threat of. If this thing gets a Shell Smash off, it's faster than my team. But I think I should be able to prevent it from doing so every single time. Hopefully. That's the goal, at least. We'll see if it actually happens. But yeah, it can outspeed everything on my team with Adamant after a Shell Smash, except for Bulbasaur in the Sun. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Sturdy is something that it could run. It could also run Shell Armor. It could run Weak Armor. I don't think my opponent has a Beat Up Mon, but it's still a possibility. And finally, we have Sandygust. Sandygust, I don't expect to come at all. I've just thrown in a basic Palisand set for it because that's what it normally runs, but I don't have a water type on my team. If my opponent is going to be doing anything with this, I would be very surprised if it wasn't like Sandvale or something weird like that. Like might run like 160 HP. Shore Up is an amazing move. Something like, but yeah, it can run enough bulk. It's got enough defense and HP that it can actually survive a hit or two from Sneasel sometimes. All in all, though, it just doesn't have the great matchup into my team. It's got a low speed, but that's about it. Like base 15 speed is slower than pretty much all of my team. I think actually all of my team. But Just in general, it's not great into my team in general. Bulbasaur again kind of destroys it. So if my opponent has done sufficient prep for Bulbasaur and they think they can beat Bulbasaur with their team, then they with the rest of their team, then they might bring Sandygust, but I doubt it again. Finally, there's Applin, the mascot. Uh, it gets 9 moves, which is more than a lot of the mascots get. It's more than my mascot gets personally. So uh, good for Applin. That being said, uh, I don't expect it to come like it gets a low speed tier. It gets 40, 80, 40 defenses, but it's 4 times weak to ice from Sneasel. So will it really come? I doubt it. In any case, that's my opponent's team really quickly. Now on to what I'm bringing this week. And we're going to start out with our Sneasel because Sneasel is always a good place to start. Uh, we're running the Never Melt Ice, except that we're not because we're running the Expert Belt because I changed this. And why didn't you keep that changed, Showdown? Thank you. Expert Belt is really good for a lot of my calcs. I'm hitting almost everything for super effective between Triple Axle, Throat Chop, Iron Tail that I'm expecting to see. Iron Tail is very important this week for the Togepi. I could run Metal Claw, but Iron Tail is just more power in max, and I don't expect to be using it out of max. It really helps with a lot of the calcs, like specifically Helping Hand, Expert Belt, Iron Tail into things. We have Fletchling. This is our win con versus everything except a Cursed Gyro Ball Ferroseed. It beats every other Ferroseed because it's Heat Wave with Roost. So Stall Ferroseed loses to it. Even specially defensive, it gets 3-hit KO, and it is max HP with a Focus Sash. So that's interesting tech from my end. But anyways, because it's max HP, it should normally be the higher percentage of my team's HP than Ferroseed should because they have because Fletchling has a higher base HP stat by 1, and my opponent's team is generally more HP than mine, other than like Spritzy, for example, which is just insane bulk. Speaking of insane bulk Spritzy, we have the Eviolite this week. This thing is guaranteed to live a hit from the Rufflet. So I can lead this with Sneasel. If my opponent has Togepi and I really want the Trick Room, I can go for a Max Steel Spike turn 1 to raise the defense by 1, and that should guarantee a live from a Helping Hand. Max Steel Spike. This thing is EV to perfectly live a Max Steel Spike based off of Steel Wing from Hustle, Life Orb, Rufflet. Aroma Veil naturally for taunt. It's really good against the Cottony. I swear if that thing runs Grass Whistle, I will actually kill Jank Tank IRL. No, not really, but the thing is bulky. There's not much more for me to say. It has really good bulk. It's Spritzy. What do you want from me? HP maximized for grassy terrain recovery. I don't know why. Sandstorm is much more likely. I should be running this spread. But maybe I'm not for another reason. There's a reason I have the spread the way it is. And I don't remember exactly what it is, but it will come to me. We're running 4 attack, Life Orb, Sheer Force, Q-Fan this week. Ironhead, Play Rough, Superpower, Rock Slide. Superpower is good to raise my attack and also hits Scraggy fairly well. Play Rough hits it 4 times effective. Naturally is pretty good. It also sets up Misty Terrain, which is good against gimmick strats like Grass Whistle or Stun Spore. I can go for a Rock Slide against Rufflet. That's kind of my only way to deal with it in Trick Room for Q-Fan. And And Rock Slide is just really good in general with the strength that it brings. Golett. Golett's running Whiter because my opponent has so much Intimidate. Thunder Punch, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, Protect. We're running no stabs this week because we need all the other moves. Thunder Punch hits Rufflet. Drain Punch is HP recovery and it hits Scraggy and raises our attack at max. Fire Punch is absolutely necessary for Pharaoh Seed because Fire Punch should just one-hit KO clean a specially defensive Pharaoh Seed if we're both neutral. Helioptile, this is our kind of decoy in a sense. Helioptile is there just in case Vulpix does come to kind of act like, oh, we're going to be running our solar power Helioptile to do a lot of damage this week. But no, we're not. We're not at all, actually. We're running Dry Skin with Surf this week because we kind of have no sun on our team. So there's no reason not to run Dry Skin with Surf. The reason for Dry Skin in particular is because with Dry Skin, this thing 1v1s the Frillish. Without it doesn't, because it just dies in Trick Room. So that's the goal against that. This thing is basically a perfect Frillish counter. If my opponent is bringing Frillish at all, then Helioptile can just beat it one-on-one. I'm considering leading with this game 1 or game 2. I'm not entirely certain, though, on that one. E-Web, T-Bolt, Surf, Protect. E-Web is absolutely crucial against a Rufflet lead. If I can keep its speed at neutral after it maxes Airstreams, then I should be fine for the most part, just generally speaking. Like, the real hope, like, the real problem for me is a lead of Togepi plus the Rufflet. Togepi plus Rufflet, if I lead Knife Cat Decoy, then I can max Steel Spike Togepi and Electro Web turn 1. I'm guaranteed to survive a max Airstream with Sneasel because I'm running no speed investment on Sneasel. My opponent has no speed control for it, so they have to just count on getting to +1. So I don't trust that they will. In any case, that's why Electro Web is there, because they need to get to +1 somehow, and if they can't, then they're just dead anyways. 2 Electro Webs does like 50% to a maxed Rufflet, which is not bad damage, just in general. And yeah, that's the team this week. Nothing too crazy. Sorry that this video is very rushed because my match is in like 15 minutes and I still have to get connected to the internet and everything. So until then, I'll see you around. Bye.